All right, what up, guys? Lynn Ray here. As you saw in my last video, my coastal carpet python Max, she is not eating right now. I've had her for about a week, and that's typically the case sometimes with newer reptiles, with new animals into your home. Sometimes they may have difficulties eating due to some type of stress. In my opinion right now, I think because her cage is so large, I think she's just having a difficult time, right? So what I've done is I've went ahead and grabbed another one of my rubs. This is a 9-liter rub. Rub is the same as a tub. For those that don't know, rub is kind of the term that's used in the UK and England, you know, that region. And rub actually stands for really useful box. So they call pretty much all of their plastic tubs like this rubs, right? Here in the US we call them tubs, so same thing, not a big deal. So I've got a 9-liter rub. Right now Max is actually in a 35-liter rub, and so I figure I need to put her in this right here, and maybe this might make her feel a bit more comfortable just because it's a little smaller, and allow her to potentially eat. So hopefully, I've had her for about a week now. I've tried to feed her, I believe, 2 times, and I'm going to try again tomorrow. And I'm going to put her in here tonight. I give her a full 24 hours of no contact after that, and see if she'll feed again. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and go over what I've done here. Again, as I said, I've got a 9-liter rub. You can find these on the internet. You could also find these at, I think, at Office Max as well. Not sponsored by those guys, but they are the only place I've seen that actually sells these. If you go to Target, you'll find like the Sterilites and things like that, which are great. The 35-liter I have over here is actually a Sterilite, which works amazing. This rub works amazing as well. So either, you know, both companies work well. Both types of boxes work very, very well. Yeah, so let's go ahead and talk about what we got here. So I've got, I believe this is 1/2 inch dowel. It's 1/2 inch by 72, right? So 72 inches long, and it's about a 1/2 inch wide. For this type of setup, you only need 2 pieces, both pieces 8 and 7/8 inches, right? So cut a piece, you know, cut 8 and 7/8, and they'll stick one here and then the other one here. What I've used are 8 by 1 1/4 inch wood screws, all bought from, you know, the department store, or, you know, a home improvement store. And I used let's see what I got here. I used a 1/8 inch, 1/8 inch drill bit. And, the drill bit was basically used to put the holes in the dowels, right, on the ends. And I used a soldering iron, which is a really good tip. I would highly recommend people do this. If they're going to do a setup like this, use a soldering iron to make the holes in the plastic. These plastic boxes are really, really strong, but they do crack, right? They will crack if you drill a hole that's too big, or you're drilling, you know, too slow, or whatever the case may be, right? So it works like magic. Use a soldering iron, make a hole big enough for the screw to go through, right? Not for the entire screw, but just the shaft of the screw. And then you can just do a light drill. You don't want this too tight, right? These animals aren't that heavy, especially when they're in this size enclosure. They're not that heavy. You don't need to have the screw going, you know, so tight, right? So this is actually, I didn't even screw the screws in all the way, and these dowels aren't moving at all, and they're actually very firm, right? And I've got obviously a hide. I always keep my warm side on the, if you're looking at it from the front, the warm side for me is always on the right side. For some reason, I like to keep it that way. Got the warm side. I'm going to go ahead and put a water dish in here. And again, the reason I have the dowels in this position, right, and not in this position, because you want a way to go ahead and reach in and pull all the stuff out, right? If the dowel is going right down the middle, it just makes it a little bit more awkward to take the hide or the water dish or the substrate out of the container. All right, so I would recommend doing it this way. And if, I mean, I guess if you want, you can do another wooden dowel from here to here, right? Leaving this nice open space here. That's fine as well. So do whatever works for you, but at least have a dowel on a warm side and a cool side. All right, what else we got? So that's pretty much how this is gonna look. Obviously you're gonna need your heat mat. Again, heat mat in your sensor and probe system. So again, I like my heat mat on the right side, and so it'll basically be looking like that. Another cool thing, or a thing that I for somehow thought about doing, is I've got the lid here. Now this lid actually has 2 holes drilled inside, and I've put the thermometer and a hygrometer on there, and I also sealed it in there with some Reptile Safe silicone. And as you can see right here, I actually live in a high desert, and so right now the humidity in my house is 36%. Even though it was just snowing the other day, it is still very, very dry here. I live in a high desert, live in Utah. They say it's the greatest snow on earth, right? It's the greatest snow on earth because of the humidity. It's so dry here. The snow that we get actually remains in a powder-like state, right? It doesn't get all icy and hard like it does on the East Coast. So it's important that, especially with reptiles here in this type of environment, that you have a good hygrometer, because it gets so dry. You don't want your snake to be dehydrated, right? To have bad sheds and things like that. So this is a good idea, right? So it's basically permanently there. It's sealed with silicone. Got all these holes here. We got a lot more holes than I really need, but yeah, but I think it works well. And it worked really, really well for my ball python when she was living in this exact enclosure. So that's pretty much all I got. That's pretty much how it works here. This is a basic, you can call it a basic arboreal or semi-arboreal snake setup. Carpet python, whatever you want to call it. Jungle python, green tree snake. This is the basic setup for those types of guys. We've got a hide, we've got a warm spot, we've got perches, right? We've got things for them to climb on, because they do like to climb. They do need to be above, they don't need to be, but they like to be above the ground at times. Alrighty, setup is complete. I took the vines and the second hide out of the old enclosure. So the second enclosure hide was over there, the vines were over here. And I went ahead and put them in here. Obviously, you need a hide. I may trim up these vines a little bit just to give them, just to make this enclosure look a little bit better. But you know, I may actually keep it that way. I'm not sure. It just depends on how well I feel like she likes the clutter. But I don't actually like how it looks like this. I think it looks a little tacky. But I think because she's such a newbie, I think that having that extra clutter might give her a little, you know, might give her a little bit more comfort. So for the water dish, I also just took a little smaller Pyrex dish that I have. So it's a glass dish, and put some purified water in there. And that's what I'll be using instead of her old water dish. The old water dish was just too wide. It takes up almost close to half of the enclosure space there. And I didn't want to do that. I did also add this dowel here. This is about 12.5 inches. So I added that just to kind of give her a few more perching options. I actually may move this bowl to the center, because I really don't want her, you know, sitting up here and pooping in the bowl. But she just pooped like 3 days ago, so she won't poop for a while. And so I'll figure it out eventually, but I think this is a pretty good setup. So nice, good sturdy dowels across the entire enclosure. Warm side over here, a perch on a warm side, perch on a cool side. And it's small, right? It's a 9-liter rub, and I think this will work well for her. Anyways, thanks for watching. Like this video, please click that like button, smash it, destroy it, and I will talk to you guys later. All right, peace.